ladies and gents. Welcome to another version of My Next Guest Bartender Is. It's a real pleasure to have three people on this panel this time. I'm feeling a little intimidated after the little chat that we had downstairs, but it is a great pleasure to introduce Katie Davies, Becky Paskin, and Karen Fullerton. Round of applause. Okay, so guys, what we're going to talk about is women in the industry, because we work in a particularly male-dominated industry, but also we're going to talk a little bit about whiskey and the role that we all play, but especially women play in the role of whiskey production, operations, marketing, everything like that. So to begin with, why don't we talk about you guys, where you came from, your backgrounds and so on. Katie, you told me downstairs you are the only female GM of a club in the whole of London.
That is correct.
I mean, that in itself is a round of applause. But seriously, like, how does that feel?
I mean, it feels great personally, but obviously it's quite a worry for the industry as a whole when, you know, women can do the exact same job as a guy, and if not, maybe better sometimes. I don't know, because I'm not a man. But for when you're working in a high pressure environment and you know you've only got 4 hours, which is generally how a nightclub operates, you've got 4 hours to make, you know, the biggest sales that you can in a high pressure, you know, unsafe environment. You do need to have a certain disposition, and I would say, well, men tend to manage with emotions and actually females don't. So to have someone in that position, I think it would actually make a lot more sense to have more females in the role than men, actually.
You mentioned safety. Is that maybe a particular concern for women going into this role?
Yeah, possibly, but I think until you've been in the environment for a long enough time and you understand how licensing works, how the relationship between the police, the council, your guests, all until you understand that relationship, I think people maybe don't consider it as a hindrance to enter in the industry, but it is absolutely the most important thing. If you don't have a license, you can't operate a business.
So you're at Maggie's now, and before that was?
Before that was Bodo Schloss. Before that was Mahiki. Before that, Mahiki Dubai, and also Nikki Beach as well.
I mean, these are small places, right? They're you know, 10, 15 people, little boutique clubs. I mean, you should be so proud of what you've done, just whether you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. That bit doesn't matter to have a CV like that.
Yeah.
So, is there what's the career goal? Where does this take you next?
I mean, the next step would be to become an owner, which again,
club?
As far as I know, yeah, of course, of a nightclub. But then again, as far as I know, bars, I know a lot of amazing bar owners that are females. But as far as nightclubs go, no, I really don't know anyone in London or in the UK, actually.
Does this give you a different edge, being a woman to running a nightclub than a man?
I would only just go back to saying that it is proven that men do manage with their emotions and women don't, as a general, and that is proven. And because of the high intensity of the operation that we're running, it makes sense to have somebody that is not managing with your emotions. And that is apparently what women are better at than men.
I think there's also something to be said. If you look at some of the big bars that are run or managed or owned by women, Drake & Morgan is probably a good example. You can see maybe not only from an operations point of view, but from a consumer point of view, from a brand point of view, you know, there are certain things that women do operationally, and I think this is where we can bring you guys in as well. That you can see there are certain details that might be lost on a male-dominated. This is quite a difficult topic for me to discuss, operations, male versus female ways that we'd run a bar at site. But I think like Drake & Morgan is a really good example, I think, of huge venues. And there must be, how many Drake & Morgan sites are there? 3 or 4? How many what?
21.
Really?
They took over Coney and Barrow.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they've got all the Coney and Barrow.
Didn't even know that. So you can see there's certain influences and certain touches that women have on these huge venues. And from a marketing or brand or consumer or anything perspective, I think those touches are vital. Becky, why don't we bring you in? Your background is completely different. You started bartending though?
I did, yeah. I started out, I suppose, in the industry bartending. Just at university, everyone has a job at uni. For me, it was bartending, actually. Yeah, but actually, in my final year, so I was finishing off my final year at university, I was bartending in a nightclub where you had to dance on the bar and have compulsory dance classes on a Sunday, which you didn't get paid for. And I also managed a restaurant at the same time as well.
So looking back at that, in the era that we're in now, how does that feel? Being told that you have to learn how to dance on the bar.
I do that with my stuff.
Well, it wasn't. The guys had to dance in the bars as well.
Okay,
it wasn't just women.
Right. I thought right,
it wasn't
okay.
that kind of place.
I'm not being presumptuous at all. Okay, so started off bartending all the way through, and now you are editor of ScotchWhiskey.com.
Yep.
And you're running Our Whiskey.
Yes.
Right.
So I
important.
switched the shaker for a pen in about 2008. So I trained to be a journalist and decided, actually I trained to be a journalist because I wanted to be a film critic. But turns out that's a very male-dominated industry as well. That was very difficult to break into. So at that point I took any job that I could find. Just getting any job in journalism was very hard. But I ended up landing on my feet actually with a online magazine which was just writing about hospitality, and I knew about that, so actually it was quite easy. And then I just kind of transcended from there. I went on to edit the Spirits Business magazine, which is a global trade title, and then I helped found ScotchWhiskey.com in October 2015. And we're now, so it's only 3 years old, we're now one of the largest whiskey websites in the world. So it's really young. It's been quite a journey, but I've definitely enjoyed going from, I draw on that experience of being a bartender in my day-to-day life as a journalist now. And I think it's helped me sort of understand the pressures of running a bar and running a club and understanding how difficult it can be, not just as a woman, as somebody working in that environment. And I take that into my writing as well.
And Karen, you are global brand ambassador for Glenmorangie and Ardbeg. How did you get into that?
Oh, it's quite a bit of a quirky story, to be honest. I actually wanted to be a sports teacher.
Oh, really? And you're from Perth,
and
right?
I'm teaching something completely different altogether.
Yeah. Almost the exact opposite.
Yeah. But when I was at university, I worked in behind the bar and things like that, and just loved it. And I was born in Scotland, but raised in the northwest of England. And it was always my dream to move back to Scotland. And I actually started my career in the wine industry. And I've got the wine industry to thank in terms of opening up my sense of smell, taste and flavour and things like that. And I got my dream job working with Glenmorangie, the Glenmorangie company in sales in 2002, covering the whole of the north of Scotland. And it was just brilliant. Every day I was out and about and all these fabby kind of country house hotels and walking to the campus. I'm Karen, I'm the business development manager for Glenmorangie. Can I introduce you to our range, blah, blah, blah. And I was also, I think, a bit of quite a pain in the arse. Sorry, you probably can't say that word on camera.
It's all right.
Within the company, because I was asking, but why does it smell like that? Why does it taste like that? So they then exported me out to America in 2004.
Because they were sick of your questions.
Yeah, I think so. It was like, let's get rid of this girl. She's doing her head in. And it was brilliant because it just taught me so much about the industry. And, this is at a time back in 2004 where this category was very misogynistic. And even going out in the trade, I was 28 years of age 18 years ago, and it's like, a woman working in the whiskey industry, is that a bit strange? And I said, no, not really. We've got this great offer. If you buy 3 bottles of Glenmorangie, you get a bottle for free. You can make it a malt for the price of a blend. I mean, this is how I started out, and I asked all those questions, but I just ignored it altogether. But going across the States was brilliant for 5 years, and it's just been a lot of fun, really.
So, I suppose this is a question for all three of you. Like, who are your mentors? Who got you into this? I mean, for most people, or for at least some people, we've kind of mentioned it. You fall into it, whether you're bartending at university. But is there anyone who you kind of looked up to as a woman in this industry that you just went, oh, you know what, one day?
Can I answer this question?
Well, it's open.
I'd always make that pilgrimage back up to Scotland, especially to Glasgow, and I'd see my grandparents and things like that. And I always remember going to the whiskey shop in Glasgow, and I went in there and I was always fascinated by these fabby bottles and things like that. And there was a girl in the shop who was saying, "Oh, would you like to try this dram?" And I was like, and she gave me this great kind of description of this particular whiskey. I thought, oh wow, that's amazing. And she was asked what I was in. I thought, I work in the wine industry. So she was kind of an inspiration to me in some ways. And then also actually reading the whiskey magazine, which I guess it would be whiskey.com, which is your company right now, sort of thing. Yeah. And reading about Dr. Bill Lumsden, and then when I got to join the Glenmorangie company, Rachel Barry was a huge inspiration for me. I mean, she was a huge kind of trailblazer for the industry, and how she describes all the fabulous aromas and tastes and flavours.
She's so poetic, isn't she?
Incredibly, yes.
Are there any like real hardcore advantages that you guys feel you have being a woman in this male-dominated industry that we run?
I could probably, it's not really something to boast about because I don't think it's necessarily that positive, but the fact that you're a woman working in whiskey, a lot of people tend to grasp onto that, like it's a cool thing now. To be a woman working in a male-dominated industry gets a lot of headlines. Rachel Barry is always quoted everywhere because she is seen as the ultimate woman working in whiskey. And it's, in a way, I mean, I've had a reflection of that as well. As a woman who runs a whiskey website, I'm always being called upon, like, oh, can you give us a quote? What's it like to be a woman in whiskey? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never been a man, so I don't have nothing to compare it to. But it's I suppose the only advantage is that I get quoted a lot, and that and I think it's the same for a lot of women working in whiskey from the brand ambassador side, from the distilling and blending side as well. They tend to really like to call us out, and there's all these articles that top 10 women in whiskey, and they're all just picking however many women they can name. There's no kind of real kind of quality to that list. It's just, oh, let's just find some women and put them in a list because people want to hear about that. So it's not really a positive advantage.
Is it almost like you're given a unique status because
you're a woman? But I think it all kind of harks back to, and I'm going to do a plug here for our whiskey,
Please.
which is a side project that I launched with Georgie Bell earlier this year. Georgie is the Global Malts Ambassador for Bacardi. And we had a discussion, and we both realised, well, we knew it, but it was so frustrating that whenever we would go to a bar and order a glass of whiskey, we'd be met by this raised eyebrow of like, oh, well, do you not want Coke in that? Are you sure you want a whiskey? But a guy will walk up to a bar and order a glass of whiskey, and that's fine, that's cool. And we're just sick of that, and it all comes back down to this perception that whiskey is a man's drink, and that's something that was perpetuated through historical whiskey marketing. And so Georgie and I decided to do something about it. So we launched a digital campaign called Our Whiskey, and it lives on social media, basically. And with that, we're trying to showcase the face of the modern day whiskey drinker, which doesn't look like a white guy with a beard, sat in an armchair.
With a glass of whiskey.
With a glass of whiskey.
the armchair's pink? I mean,
well, that's true. You've got that. So we've launched this digital campaign, and so we're just basically trying to change people's perceptions of who drinks whiskey by showcasing drinkers from around the world who don't look like that, who actually are just like the people in this room, and there's actually barely any guys in this room, quite honestly, which is really great to see. But we're also going one step further and actually speaking with the marketing departments within the main Scotch whisky producers to try and encourage them to have a bit more diversity within the marketing campaigns, so to actually normalise the fact that women drink whiskey, that this is not an abnormal thing that you see. I don't need to be sexualised, I don't need to be there just to make the male protagonist look better. This is normal, and that's what we're trying to campaign for. So I'm just trying to change views. Thank you.
I mean, I don't even like whiskey, so. Katie, I'm going to throw this to you, but again, it's open. Now, this is going to sound presumptuous, so
Pushing away.
apologies. Does being who you are and doing what you do, does that force you to have some kind of hard exterior to try and rebuff any kind of, anything from assumptions, insinuations, whatever it might be, or is it just not even there?
I mean, I would hope not. It still surprises me at least once a week if somebody asks to see the manager. Well, people ask to see the manager all the time, but if I go to see them, and they're like, oh, you're a girl. Like, this still happens in Chelsea. Oh, you're a girl. I should be like, well, yes. Is there a man we can speak to?
No.
This still
You
happens.
still get that.
At least once a week. At least once a week. And so I would hope that it hasn't changed, like, being in this role professionally hasn't changed me as a person. But when I'm put in those situations at work and there's still somebody saying, can we speak to a man instead? That's when that's a real problem. And so that's when I nut them. No, I'm joking.
So that's when the hard exterior comes out.
Exactly. No, it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I play around with them a bit and, pretend I'm a guy. But no, sometimes obviously I'll pull them up on it and be like, really? You're asking to speak to a guy when you want your problem resolved? I'm here to do that. But you still want to speak to a guy? Like, sure, go and speak to one of my bartenders, see how far a refund's going to get you. Like, it's not, it's. I would hope not. I don't really feel like I have to, but I definitely remember though when I started, definitely. So nearly 10 years ago, my first sort of managerial position, I always, even though I started as like a super high concept bar, heavily themed tiki bar, Mahiki, and everyone wore tiki dresses. And I insisted on wearing a suit jacket over my tiki dress because I was like, no, they're not going to take me seriously. Like, I was in much better shape than I am now. I had like massive tits, fake blonde hair, super tan, tiki dress. But I was like, no, I'm going to wear the suit jacket because otherwise they're not going to take me seriously. Which now, looking back, I think, oh, wow, that's so sad. Like, that's pathetic that I had to think like that. But that's how I felt like I had to be. Like, no, they're going to all the boys are wearing suit jackets. I'm going to wear a suit jacket. Like, that's what I'm going to have to do because if I turn up and I'm in a dress and I look like this in heels, they're just not going to take me seriously. So yeah, cool, I'll cover it with a suit jacket. That's really bad, and I hope that the environment that I provide at work now, that none of the girls would ever feel like that. So.
Is that something that you had to fight for, or
it was by choice. Probably the guys then wouldn't know that, actually kept telling me, take off your jacket. So, but I didn't, that's how I felt like, I'm going to have to be taken seriously because I look like this. Like, I was probably hired in the first place because I look like a tiki pin-up girl, to be honest. But 10 years ago, guys, 10 years ago, work with me here. But, but I hope that, no, that was by choice. It was me thinking, oh God, well, look, the guys are wearing this. I have to wear this. I'm going to be taken seriously. I'm going to put a jacket on.
I think that reminds me of a real cliche interview question that one of the great interviewers once asked, and I'll throw it out to all three of you. If you could give yourself some advice to the 10 years ago you, what do you reckon that would be?
Just
anyone first.
Go for your dreams. I think to your point as well that you made before, is that this is a fabulous liquid, and it's not gender specific in any shape or form. If you connect with the taste and the flavour, it's as simple as that. And let's face it, as women, we're very complex creatures. So we connect with complex spirits and complex drinks and things like that. So, you know, yeah, you get those challenges. Oh, it's a bit weird, a woman drinking Scotch whisky. No, it's not. It's just a liquid, and it's a very beautiful and very complex liquid that is steeped in lots of history and romance and things like that. So, you know, just stick to the positive and you know, the way that maybe society 20, 30, 40 years conditioned that this was a gender specific or age demographic specific, it's simply untrue.
I think that just coming off of that point as well, for me, I would just to say be confident and have faith in what it is that you think is the right thing to do and just follow through with that, because I think too many people are afraid of failure, and that kind of stops you from achieving your goals and your dreams
and pleasing society.
People. Exactly, and I can't tell you the amount of times I've written an article and gone, oh my God, I'm totally going to be trolled with this tomorrow when it goes live. And I've written it and I mean, today now I have the confidence to write something and go, sod it, I'm just going to put it out anyway and see what happens. Whereas 10 years ago, I probably would have been a bit more nervous and a bit more afraid of what other people think about that, and regardless of whether it's the right thing to do, the right thing to say. I think having more courage of your conviction is a really strong asset to have.
Yeah, I guess I would have just said it's going to be really, really hard for a long time, but just keep reminding yourself why you're doing it. Do you want to be sat in an office? No. Do you want to have to pay for your drinks when you walk in a bar? No. Like, just keep doing it, and it's going to get easier. Like, I wish I'd known that. Whereas, say, yeah, 5 or 6 years ago, I was thinking like, oh my God, this is getting harder and harder every single day. Now, kind of the past 3 years, it seems to be coming out the other side, and
So it's getting easier?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah? What?
Definitely.
And if I can just build on that as well, just being open. You know, back in the day when I came in the industry, you know, the whiskey connoisseur starts off in the lowlands, then went to the highlands, then Speyside. But it was only the real connoisseurs that drank the Islay whiskies. It's absolute bullshit. And, you know, if you like big flavours, if you like smoked cheese, espresso coffee, smoked food, then there's a good, you know, chance that you're going to love an Islay style whiskey, a big, powerful Islay whiskey like Ardbeg and all the other beautiful whiskies on Islay. If you don't, then you're going to absolutely hate it. So it's just being open to that. You know, you don't have to be a man or a woman. You don't have to be a connoisseur. It's just what you connect with and things. So
I think it's funny, there's a lot of people that say, you must have had this before.
yeah.
A lot of people will say to me, oh, no, I don't drink whiskey. I don't like it. I had one once, and that means I don't like whiskey at all. And I go, yeah, but have you, like, you had a glass of wine once that you didn't like, right? But does that mean you hate all wine?
Exactly.
You probably have had
There's
other wines,
loads out
right?
there.
There's so much diversity in whiskey. Like, so if you had, I don't know, maybe a fruity Speyside and you thought, actually, it was a bit too sweet for me, but you've got, like, you love barbecued meat, go and try an Islay whiskey, because there's a completely different flavour profile there. I think it's, you have to try everything.
It's all about being adventurous.
Yeah.
Do women see this industry as a viable career?
100%.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. I mean, I came into the industry in 2002, a long time ago, maybe before any of you were born. But that's okay.
In 2002, it'd be 16.
Oh yeah, I'm not very good at maths. I'll be legally to drink. And it's been a really amazing adventure. And when you come into the drinks industry, you don't just learn about whiskey, but you learn about history, you learn about taste and flavour, you learn about culture, you learn about the whole kind of the whole industry, you know, in terms of service, in terms of consumer connection. I mean, it's so much fun, and you meet so many amazing people in this industry. It's just absolutely brilliant. And to be here tonight with each and every one of you is just, you know, I feel buzzed inside.
I mean, there's no doubt that it's an awesome position to be in from a career point of view. Is this something that, you know, you can go from strength to strength to strength, or is there a glass ceiling or a gender pay gap? I mean, are all these kind of topical things that we've heard about in the news?
When I joined the Spirits Business magazine, I was there as I joined as deputy editor, and then I became editor. And when I was editor, I needed help from other people. So I ended up recruiting through, I used the work experience program. Of the people that came through that really impressed me, I then offered them a job. And there were actually these 3 girls who really, really impressed me from day one. And it didn't matter that they were girls or guys, they just impressed me. It was not about gender at all. And they came through, they were fantastic. One of them now, Amy Hopkins, is editing The Spirits Business, so she is still there. Melita Kiley is her deputy editor, so the 2 girls are running it together. And Annie Hayes is now working across Master of Malt, and she's doing freelance stuff as well. So all 3 of them are still in the industry, and they're all still going really strong. So I couldn't be prouder of the fact that there are these 3 amazing, strong girls that just came in for some work experience, not really thinking that this was a career, but then falling in love with the drinks industry and just deciding this is the career for them, and they've just stayed with it and loved it and run with it. And I think that's what we need to do, as not just as women in the industry, as people in the industry. We need to foster talent, regardless of whether that's male or female or whatever, but just give, I think once people have a taste of like working in the industry, whether that's behind the bar or whether that's in marketing or being a brand ambassador or writing about it, you then give them a taste of what it's like to be, you know, doing this on a Friday night, and like how can you not fall in love with that? And I think that just like fosters people to stay within the industry.
I think it is one of those fortunate industries that once you fall in love with it, you're not going to fall out of love with it.
Right.
Whether you are an operator, whether you are brand or writing or marketing or PR or whatever it might be, it's just one of those industries. And I think most people in this room will probably, hopefully, agree with me that once you're hooked, that's pretty much it. You're hooked for life.
But I think that the world is a very different place just now, in that we're in a very healthy situation where anything that is slightly, you know, unbalanced is just totally weird and actually repulses people a lot. And so I think with the generation that's coming through, it's just, you know, the future's bright.
Well,
definitely.
I mean that kind of nicely ties in, because I wanted to wrap this up in about half an hour. But what changes have you seen recently that you've kind of gone, it's about fucking time, isn't it? Like, is there anything you've seen, you know what, straight away? Oh, God, thank God.
Well, I've been out and travelling the world and hosting tastings and things like that. You know, I see a lot more women coming into the spirit category and things like that. Marketing, still not there. It's definitely not there. It's definitely the demographic is very much male orientated and things like that. But it's changing. It is changing, but not as
in the way we market our
positioning
products.
Yeah, and you know, if you have to be careful what I say here, without swearing.
You can out as many people as you want.
Yeah,
It's fine.
But you know, there's been whiskies that created that. You know, a pink whiskey or a lady's name whiskey and things like that, and that completely turns off, you know, the someone who enjoys Scotch whiskey. It's kind of insulting.
I was asked. It's funny this. I was asked to consult on a new whiskey to be launched, which was a gender neutral whiskey. And I mean, first of all, I wouldn't consult on something, but every whiskey is gender neutral. What are you talking about? But the fact that they thought this was a good idea just goes to show how backwards like marketing departments are. They just can't get their heads around marketing whiskey to women. Yeah. I think it is a dangerous area, though. I think a lot of them don't really know how to do it.
If you target women, it makes it too girly and it's not aspirational for the guys. But at the end of the day, if you can do it for cars, if you can do it for wine, if you can do it for a whole bunch of different things, why can't you do it for Scotch whiskey? And it's as simple as that. It's all about the values of it. It's connecting with everything about it. It's the whole. It's a very sophisticated drink. It's complex, you know. And when you want to get that hook, you just want to understand, you know, more about it. You know, why does it smell like that? Why is it? Well, okay, I'm going back to me again.
This got you kicked out of the country last time, remember?
I know. Christ. It's all right, I'm going back to Scotland tomorrow. Or tonight. Well, off the border anyway.
well, that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to ask you guys. In a minute, we're going to do a Q&A. But for our YouTube channel, I'm going to say thank you very much. Katie, Becky, Karen, please give a big round of applause.